everybody. It is Wednesday, December 4th. It is the last day of instruction for the fall 2019 semester for me. We have today, I'm going to go over my final exam stuff for both my classes, but what I decided to do, they don't know this yet, but in college physics, which is mostly like pre-med, pre-PT, biology, some computer science majors, I give a comprehensive final in there, and normally what it is, it's like 40 multiple choice questions and stuff. I got to thinking the other day, I wanted to see what they had learned, not just to see how well they could take a test. So today I'm giving them a handout, and it's got 6 things on it. It's going to be their final exam, and they can take it home and work on it. But I've picked out 6 things that use concepts that we've been talking about this semester, and I want them to write essays on it. So, for example, one of the topics that I put on there, or one of the things I said, is describe how a nuclear power plant works, and in particular, tell me about nuclear fission and nuclear radioactive decay, and then how that heats up the water, and then that water then turns a turbine, which then covers electromagnetic induction with generators, and then that generator turns into electrical current, which then goes out through transformers. So there's like 4 topics that we've talked about this semester. Another one that I put on there was brachytherapy for cancer treatment, where they use radioactive sources, and they put the sources literally in the human's body to kill the tumor. So you describe radioactive decay and effective dose and absorbed dose and all of that good stuff. So another one that I put on there was ultrasounds, using ultrasounds in medical applications. So that talks about waves and the speed of sound and refraction and reflection. So they can they can Google this stuff, but to address the specific physics concepts, they're going to have to dig a little bit deeper. And I thought that is a good way to comprehensively test what they have learned, but yet still be more directly related to things that they'll be doing later on. So I did that, and then for my majors class, what I had them do, and I took this inspiration from the West Wing a couple of years ago, they have to write a position paper. So if they are a science advisor for a government, they may be tasked with writing a position paper where, in this case, they work for a country that has financial resources, but they are exploring options for power generation other than fossil fuels. And so the question that I'm asking them is, the leader is interested in nuclear power and needs a position paper. So they have to explain what nuclear power is and how it works from a science perspective. And they have to explain it in such a way that it's not someone that's a physics major that's reading, obviously an educated person who is literate and has a college education and can read and understand things at a certain, comprehensive, or comprehend things at a certain level. But they're not physics majors, so they can't use a lot of jargon, but they can use, they don't have to explain it to the level of like they were explaining it maybe to an elementary school class. So they have to write about how it works. They have to tell me about the pros and cons from a non-biased perspective. Here are the pros, here are the cons, and why. Then they get to make a recommendation. Then they get to use their opinion and make a recommendation. But if they make a recommendation, if they recommend in favor of using nuclear power, they then have to address the issues of waste storage. And if they recommend against using nuclear power, they have to give me a developed idea for an alternative form of energy production, such as wind power or solar power or whatever, and explain how that would be more beneficial. So I gave them that on Monday, and they have a week to do that. So I thought, well, that's a way to kind of encompass all the things we've been talking about: the science portion, science literacy, science in the public sphere, you know, how if they really dig deep and talk about the impact of waste storage and stuff, they could talk about how that affects the environment and you know, maybe marginalized populations, because very often these things are put in places where there are marginalized populations that get displaced, or the storage facilities are put in place, you know, without much regard to the certain populations of people. So I thought that would be an interesting problem for them to do, and it would be more interesting to read and grade than a multiple choice test. Anyway, so obviously I am here on campus. I have got to go in and do some grading of some essays and get everything ready, and then this will be our last day of instruction, which is always bittersweet because I have really enjoyed these students this semester. But you know, they move on, we move on, there'll be new ones, and some of them I'll see again in astrophysics in the spring. So anyway, so we're going to go inside and get to work. Well, I got all my grading caught up. Got all the kids' projects graded. I try to give them back a comment sheet so they know what they need to work on, because most of these people are going to be presenting again at some point, whether it's to conferences or to patients or to people that they're doing a bid for a job. So being able to present is something that all scientists have to do, whether we want to or not. It's a crucial part of our job. And I know a lot of them are nervous about talking in front of people, but that's why I have them doing it here, because it's a small class. Everybody's kind of in the same boat. And I try to give them positive, you know, feedback. I don't rake them over the coals or anything, because that's how you learn. You know, I know when I get negative feedback, I tend to kind of just shut down and think, oh, well, I just can't do anything right. So I try to give, you know, useful feedback, but in a positive way, and focus on what they did well, which, I mean, they were all really good, so I was pleased. Anyway, so I am headed to class. It'll be our last class of the semester. It's always kind of bittersweet, like I said, but yeah, it's last class, so here we go. Well, I've gotten caught up with grading here, and I'm taking a little bit of break to eat my lunch, and I'm watching a couple of videos. This is Last Homely House, East of the Sea. She's doing a video on how to make fabric stars, and I'm crocheting a little bit on my gingerbread man cloth. I'm almost done with the body, and I don't have my white yarn with me, so I'll have to wait till tonight to add the next section. But I'm almost at 15 inches. Yeah. I thought I'd show you the sky now that I'm home. It's alto cumulus clouds. Alto means middle level, and cumulus means heaps or piles. But this is sometimes called a mackerel sky because it looks like fish scales. And the weather lore that I learned from it was mackerel sky, never long wet, never long dry, meaning it would come a short period of rain soon. There's other ways that it's told to, like mackerel sky, not 24 hours dry. Sometimes called buttermilk sky too, because it looks like clabbered milk. Anyway, I'm home now, and I'm gonna do my outside chores. What are y'all doing? Huh? Let's go eat. Yeah, I see you. Y'all know it's time to eat, don't you? One thing I did get is I got some wormer blocks for my cattle. Since I don't get them up to worm them individually, these are a good way to worm the whole herd. They're expensive. They're about $50 a block, but they'll worm around 11 head per block, so 33 head or so, roughly will do these three. So I've got a couple of young steers that have got a parasite load. Yummy. Sorry if you're eating when you're watching this, but anyway, I'm gonna give this to them in hopes it'll bring them around, because this time of year, since we've already had a hard freeze, if I can get them get them treated, then they shouldn't have any more problems until spring. So I'm gonna put these on the tractor and take them out. plain saddle pad. It's kind of hard to tell, but it's actually a navy blue. It's the same company I got bows from. They just shipped them in 2 separate packages, which that's fine with me because it was Amazon Prime, so free shipping. But anyway, so I'm going to go put that in the car so that I'll take that over to the barn tomorrow afternoon when I go to practice. I'm going to share a funny story about these little pudgy Santa Clauses here. My mom and I was probably in graduate school. I don't really remember when we started. I think graduate school for sure. We had bought a bag of polyfill, and on the back of the bag, you know, they give you a free pattern usually. And there was a pattern for these little Santa Claus, and they've got clothes pegs for their feet and their hands. And we had gone to, there used to be a little hole-in-the-wall fabric store down in downtown Russellville. And it was just in this old, shackledy, rundown, you know, before they had sort of the downtown revival area. And she would get millions and have sales. And so you could go in there and buy like a yard of fabric for 50 cents or 25 cents or whatever. So we would go in there and just stock up like crazy on this Christmas fabric. And so that resulted in us having a whole lot of Christmas fabric. And I said, well, let's make some Santa Clauses. And we started making them, and we were having so much fun with them. I think we ended up making about, I've probably still got like 40 of them. I think we made like 60 or so, and we would tie them on packages and everything and give them to people. So what I do with them now is I use them on this family Christmas tree. You can see I just kind of tuck them in here and there, and they're a nice, cute little space filler. I've done garlands with them where I've had a whole bunch of them on the garland. When I lived in Oklahoma, the house I lived in had a fireplace, so I put a whole bunch of them on the garland that went across the mantle. It was just a lot of fun, and I found some of them after my mom died and her things, and so I started sewing them up. And so some of them are more recently made, but most of them are about 25 years old or more. So there's my little chubby Santa Clauses, and they're going to go on the tree here as filler on this family ornament tree. Well, I have finished my chores, and I worked on finishing up the family Christmas tree, and now I am working on my Farmer's Almanac post for December. And I had a couple of people ask me why the winter solstice date moved around so much. So if you want to know, it'll be in the post why the date varies. It's an astronomically determined thing, but you know, when men try to put, and by men I mean humans, try to put their calendar on nature's calendar, sometimes it doesn't quite line up. But anyway, so I'm working on my Farmer's Almanac post right now. I've been watching some Vlogmases, Kaz's from the Wee So and So, and Bowl and Vine, and who else has I watched today? I can't remember. I watched those this morning because they come up pretty early. So, and then I plan on tonight working on my little gingerbread towel. I made a couple of hats last night after I signed off with you guys. And I'm going to try to make one more hat, and then I'll start working on my gingerbread towel, because the gingerbread towels are gifts from Miss Betsy. Hi, Simon. So I'm going to get back to work here on the Farmer's Almanac post. I hope y'all go check it out when I get it posted. Having a hard time getting these Farmer's Almanac posts done because I've got a lot of extra help. First it was Simon, and now it's Cammie. Anyway, I did get my dishes washed. You can see them piled up in the sink there. And I'm almost done with this post, y'all. If she'll just let me work for about 20 more minutes, I'll be done. I don't want to play rabbits with you. Oh, now I got a lot of extra help. Okay. It's like running a daycare some days. Okay, so here's my advent calendar thing. This is the one I purchased from Lollipop Girl Yarns, Macy's Christmas display, and then Miss Shirley sent me this gorgeous blue. That's my favorite color ever. So anyway, so yep, there's my advent calendar goodies for today. Some of the goodies Miss Shirley sent me. Aren't these great? I love the narwhal. She knows I love the narwhals, and I can always use lip balm and lotion and stuff. And then she sent me this really cool cup that says, "I'm really a mermaid." She's never seen me swim. Anyway, I've got some more goodies I'll share with you as we go on with Vlogmas. Well, I've gotten this far on my little gingerbread man towel. I've just got his little buttons and to sew his little mouth and sew the buttons and cheeks on, and then he'll be done. You hear my exhaust fan running in the background because apparently when I was making scallop potatoes, there's some milk that boiled over in the oven, and when I went to turn it on tonight, my house is now filled up with smoke, and so the smoke detector is laying on the table right now, and the dogs are all upset, but I've tried to tell them the house is in fact not on fire. So I've got Willie here. He's telling me he's worried, but it's going to be okay. But oh, come on, it's all right. Yes, okay. But anyway, so I've got this much done on a little towel. I'm going to eat my supper and try to finish that, and so I guess that's where I'm going to sign off. So Willie and me are going to sign off for tonight. He's very upset. They don't like the smoke detector, and I guess they don't like the smell of smoke. But the house is in fact not on fire. I've tried to convince him of that. But anyway, we'll check in with y'all tomorrow. Bye.